Hey, this is Troy Erickson from the Secrets of Scale podcast and emaillistmanagement.com. Today, I am back with another awesome episode from another copywriter that I met at an event with Sam Ovens. Her name is Sara Turner, and she's an entrepreneur, copywriter, and copywriting mentor. Over 27 million in sales to her name for her clients. She has also mentored or supported over 253,000 people in the field of copywriting, and she's had over 4,100 students that have gone through her programs. She's been a Business Insider, Voyage LA, and Shout LA. So, Sara, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm very happy. We had a great conversation at Sam's event in El Segundo, and you're up in Santa Monica. So
I know, it's so easy. It's like a 15-minute drive. I felt like I was cheating because people were there from like Europe and stuff.
It's pretty funny. So I'm curious because I'm going to be completely honest. When I met you, I was shocked that there was another big copywriting coach out there that I had not heard of before. And I'm in a lot of circles and Copy Accelerator and like on Facebook and like, you know, that's kind of my area where I hang out. So how did you get into this whole copy space, and like who are, you know, some of the people in your circle?
Yeah, it's true. It's probably because I mean this with all the love in the world, but you probably hang out with, you know, the marketing bros. And those are not usually my people. My program and the people who come through my program are usually women. And so, yeah, we just have a little bit of a different vibe. And yeah, I don't know. So how did I get started? Let's see. I've been copywriting for almost 10 years now, which kind of like caught me off guard the other day. I was like, oh, we're coming up on 10 years. And it was a little bit of a journey. I mean, the short answer is that I very quickly realized that I was never going to be a good employee. I work really hard. And I very quickly like needed the rewards of my hard work to be passed on to me. So I was like, all right, so I'm starting a business. So I started an event planning business first. And while I was doing that, I actually was doing some writing, some technical writing, some content writing on the side. And then very quickly realized that while events were not my thing, it went really well, but I was not into the fact that I had to book things a year out and then I was stuck in the location I was in. I travel a bunch. Every year I try to be like abroad for like 3 months. That's like, and so I was looking for location independent work, and I loved writing, had some experience with it. Came across copywriting and then just really dove into that. And so as a copywriter, I write for functional medicine doctors. So I write for very small practices, and, you know, increasing their client load, bringing in more patients, getting in front of the right patients, because usually they're not doing that. But usually they have a little bit of an expertise. So kind of like working with them to restructure that. So helping functional medicine doctors help people with chronic illness was my thing for a very, very long time. And I still like, it has a big, big place in my heart. And then now I have a program, Write Your Way to Freedom, 4 years in October. Over 4,000 students have gone through it. We've got some copywriters coming through from my program that are writing for like massive, massive brands now, writing for Google, Walmart, Fenty, Rihanna's brand. So they're just like amazing, amazing humans that I get to work with. But yeah, so that's it. That's the journey. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, obviously, but you know.
Yeah, so we're copywriters, so we're going to have to dive right into the more to it area.
Okay.
So you mentioned that functional medicine is very dear to your heart. Was there something that happened earlier in your life that made it so dear to your heart?
You know, not in like really where I gravitated towards was like health and wellness. Definitely big into biohacking, definitely big into being healthy. So I knew it was like health and wellness was like going to be my jam. And then kind of as I just started writing as a copywriter, I realized I really love serving that specific market because it's complicated. you're really getting in touch with people who are in very vulnerable places in their lives. Functional medicine doctors have usually kind of had to forego the things that come with being a traditional doctor, i.e. your patients coming from the insurance industries. So they have to do their own marketing. And, they take a hit, basically. Like they choose a harder route because they really believe in it. And so I don't know, it was more like in coming across and working with them that I was like, man, these guys are like doing really important work and I like supporting them. But I definitely also wrote for some e-commerce, health and wellness. And that just like wasn't my favorite. It's a little harder to get big numbers when you're writing in the service sector as a copywriter. But for me, it was just always so much more rewarding. And I have people in my life who have chronic illness and I've seen how like that's been a struggle. But I think more than anything, I kind of liked the complexity of serving that industry. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Now that's a very, very, very specific niche. A
It gets
lot of
even more
copywriters.
niche too. I'm like kind of known for writing about gut health and epigenetics. That's like my jam.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like, yeah, I know. I went real niche.
You did. Now, my question is, a lot of copywriters ask me like, hey, should I niche down? And at
Mhm.
first I kind of tell them to just look at things they're interested in and be open to anything, and then your niche will find you.
Mhm.
But what would you say to the question of should I niche down and
Yeah.
when?
So I obviously get that question in incredible amounts, like one of the number one things. I think people give it a little bit too much power. But I actually recommend that they come up with like some sort of umbrella niche just to give them a little bit of focus. Because if they don't, and I also really encourage them to go after like what lights them up rather than like what's profitable. Because I have seen my students make so many random niches super profitable. Like we're talking like textiles, like yarn and like sewing. And I'm just like, would I have been like, yeah, there's no blog or YouTube video out there being like top 10 profitable niches, like textiles. But like that was her jam. She was super stoked about it. It made her excited to write about it every day because it is like, a lot of reading and writing. So I do encourage them to kind of like let go of the idea of finding what's profitable and really digging into whatever lights them up, because I don't know, at the end of the day, like your excitement for something is going to carry you so much further than just how much money you're making, I have found. And then the money comes, especially if you still go ahead and like set it up. So I encourage people to pick a niche pretty early on, but I give them permission. I'm like, it could be e-commerce, it could be health and wellness. Do you know how, like, so much is within that? Because I do think when you're a newbie, one of the things that I see people struggle with the most is focus. And if they don't have like a little bit of focus or a little bit of a filter, I don't know, I see them struggle a lot more. So that's my take on it. But there's not a right or wrong answer, really.
Right. Now, let's say somebody is really passionate about a certain niche. They're really passionate about writing. They've got their laptop in hand and they're like, all right, what do I do next? I heard about Sarah Turner. Like, what is the process that you would teach that person? Like, what are like the fundamentals that people should know you for that you teach?
Yeah, I mean, so we do a lot of studying copy and we get really into like the nitty gritty, like emotional techniques and the psychology of it, persuasive techniques, studying like some of the old school copy, like I feel like it's kind of a pretty common recommendation, that one. I think it's easier to study because it's so overt and almost like comical to us these days, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's really like getting into it, but more than anything, getting them to practice as fast as possible. Like in my program, everyone is always shocked at how quickly I'm having them like write things. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, because that's how you learn. You don't learn by like reading book after book. You learn by like reading and writing and refining and trying again. So practicing like as fast, like right out the gate, and then getting feedback on that's essential too. So
Now, are you mostly teaching email, long form, something else?
we teach everything actually, but I have them start, and this is a thing that like I don't know. It's funny because people have like big opinions and big emotions about it. But I actually have them start with blogs and website copy because they're not direct response. And so it's a chance for them to practice. It's a chance for them to maybe get on a retainer to alleviate that initial financial burden that they're usually like have when they come to work with me. But then like we move pretty quickly into like direct response. But I don't know. I think that it's better to start there than to start out with sales pages when you're like, I've never written copy before, and or emails, and you're worried about getting those numbers. But yeah, so I have them ultimately, they're usually writing funnels. So sales pages, emails, opt-ins, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, VSLs, launch copy. Those are the big ones. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I can say that throughout my career, I've done at least, or all of those things at least one time. It's a lot of fun to be able to like work on new, exciting things. And most recently, I have gotten into writing my own TikTok scripts and TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And I just had one hit over 300,000 views, and I'm stoked about it.
Hell yeah.
I'm curious, are you really active on social media as well? No.
No, I am like every day increasingly less active on social media. Wait, I'm curious. So what's your favorite copy though?
Me, email.
Yeah, for sure. Mine too. Emails are my favorite. Like I love emails, and I'm like very quickly, guys, head that direction. It's like, I just love them. They're the best. You get to like really connect with people more one-on-one. It's more intimate feeling. You got some instant numbers, which I love. Anyway, so social media, no, I'm like, I honestly like hate social media. I'm not gonna lie. I just moved my community off Facebook, haven't logged in like almost a month to Facebook. Super excited about that. I mean, I'm still like posting things. It's just like kind of on autopilot. I do YouTube videos because I think YouTube is a great, like, I really like the YouTube platform. Instagram, my Instagram goes against like all recommendations that people give you. My Instagram is a mixture of like business thoughts, traveling, and pole dancing, which like confuses people. And I kind of like that it confuses people, if I'm honest. I just decided that I was going to make sure that as I was building my business, I wasn't creating something that was according to like all the shoulds that exist out there. And if something, I find something in particular like really draining, or something, I don't know, it just like rubs me the wrong way, I just don't do it. And I made that decision like pretty early on, and I don't regret it, I'll tell you. Like I have obviously have had seasons where I'm like, oh no, maybe I should be posting 3 times a day on Instagram, but I very quickly abandoned it because I just find social media extremely draining. That's just me. So
it definitely can be, that's for sure. Lately I've made like extra effort to go at it, and I'm one of those people that like I just want to keep go like that's all I want to do. And then you sound
like, you should, whatever like feels good for you, like you should keep doing that thing, you know. It's I mean, that's kind of the beauty of our businesses, right? So
yeah, totally. And then you sound a lot like Justin Goff, where it's more just like, hey, I have my lifestyle. I'm not going to let anyone or anything intrude on my lifestyle and what I like to do. So it's cool because it's like 2 different kinds, and there's like no right or wrong.
right.
But I'm curious, do you find that most of your students are go, or are they just like also like living lifestyle, or like what kind of vibe is it in your community?
I actually think that's also what like the type of people I tend to attract or whatever, are people who don't really want to be like social media famous. Like I have no desire to be social media famous, honestly. I don't like care about engagement on posts. Like I'm just like, if the business is running well and the numbers are there and like the conversions are there, like that's my metric. And so, yeah, I get a lot of people who are interested in being a copywriter or in digital marketing, but they themselves don't want to be some sort of like online digital marketing guru. And I'm like, you definitely don't have to do that. Like you can do whatever. I will say though, that like, I think it's important to like have the filter, because I always push back on my resistance, right? So I'm never just like, that doesn't feel good, I'm not going to do it. That's not a great way of like moving through life as an entrepreneur, because there are going to be things that you don't love that you need to do to make things work. Like, just hands down, it's just life. And so I do like push back on it. I'm like, but am I hurting myself by not like posting on Instagram consistently or something like that, right? But right now, like what I have found is the answer is no. Like, it's like not a problem at all. It has not negatively impacted business. My energy is more protected. So yeah, I don't know. You gotta push back a little bit.
So you obviously teach and you also do, which is amazing. What is your favorite email or like funniest email or like coolest email that you've ever written? I know that might be very
I
challenging.
know. I'm like, oh no, the like Rolodex is coming out. The funniest or challenging. I mean, I have to admit, like writing emails for myself and my own program is like so rewarding, because it's just like, it's me, right? It's actually funny. Sometimes people will be like, what was your strategy slash like template for the email sequence that like led me to write Your Way to Freedom? And I'm like, there's a lot less strategy in that particular email sequence than I would do for a client, because it was so much of me, you know what I mean? So that's really rewarding. But for clients, I really love when we do one of the strategies, because again, it's in the service sector. So it's like, it's really like based in time, right? So it's not something that's as scalable as like products. And so one of the things I really love that I do with my clients is we do like little week-long like programs to kind of get them started on something that will like really impact their health, whether it's like, you know, kind of transitioning into a keto diet, or doing a gut health reset, or I don't know, just like a mindfulness. I really like coming up with like these, because they're like little programs, right, that are all through email, but then ultimately like lead them to whatever it is that we're like trying to like pitch, because it feels good, it's really helpful, people learn a lot, they're super engaged, and it's like little bite-sized pieces that actually like impact them in a meaningful way. Whereas I don't know, like a blog's not going to do that, an Instagram post isn't enough to do that. A YouTube video probably could, if you made them sit down and like watch them all in order. But yeah, I love email when you can like work it in that way. So
Yeah, totally. Now, for your clients, are you mostly selling high ticket programs or supplements?
oh, so no, like very few products, if any at all. It's actually mostly like for their practice. So that's what I'm saying. It's like very simple. Um, so not high ticket programs either. No, it's like it's growing their practice. And so I work with clients to basically, I mean, like one of my clients, you know, she didn't have a full schedule, but she was an incredible doctor. And then after like a few months of working together, she had like a 5-year waiting list. So, and then she was able to hire people, right? She was able to hire a nutritionist and like other people to support like her patients on their like really like complicated and gut wrenching like stories, or journeys rather. So no, I mostly work with that. I don't really work in high ticket space or in e-commerce.
It's high ticket in a way though, isn't it? I mean, what is like the average cost of an appointment with your client?
A few $100s, because it's still a doctor, but usually, yeah, you are trying to get them, like, because they have chronic illness, you have to get them into coming back and investing in, you know, longer appointment times, which are more expensive, investing in the different coaching elements that are within the practice. So there is a lot of like, and then also paying for it without insurance, right? Which is like, you have to really be sold on a doctor when you could feel like you could get it elsewhere and covered. Um, that's why it's kind of a complicated situation, right? Because you're dealing with people who have kind of tried like so many other options and like nothing's working for them. And so, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I have worked with e-commerce. I've worked with some big e-commerce brands. It's just like not what like lights me up. It's not my favorite. It's great. It pays the bills, definitely higher paying clients than my little doctors. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's just like my favorite type of client. So
It's still cool because you're like taking something that like somewhat resembles local business and you're making it very doable in the copywriting space. Because most people are just out there selling high ticket programs. There's a lot of great ones. There's also a lot of bad ones. Or people are selling supplements, but it's like you're
right.
still doing this. Like I started in Facebook ads and my first clients were like local businesses. And when I got into email, I didn't think it was really feasible to retain them for a long time, but that's very unique. That's one thing I think that's really unique about you and that program. Do any of your
my
students?
program doesn't focus on this. This is
Okay.
how I copyright. No. My program doesn't focus on small businesses like that at all, actually. Most people, I mean, quite frankly, it's a little easier to go after a high ticket program, e-commerce, because they understand the value of marketing. The scalability is there. The budget is there. And yeah, so that's actually a better place, I think, for newer copywriters to start. I wouldn't recommend
Totally.
doing what I did. Love it.
One thing that I heard before that was really smart actually, is if you niche down like this and they know you as Sara Turner, the girl who's the best copywriter for these very specific health problems, then if somebody else comes up to you and maybe they're not exactly in that niche, but they know that you are the best in that niche, they're going to be like, well, she's probably better than whoever else I could hire for this, even if it's not the exact same niche.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where the e-commerce people come into play. Like I tell my students all the time, like have a niche on your website. It can be vague. E-commerce, health and wellness gives you a little bit of focus. Doesn't look like you're a generalist. People are like, okay, they know my industry. But it doesn't mean that people aren't going to reach out and ask you to do things outside of what you prefer to do. And also you might want to, there have been brands and business brands specifically that do mostly e-commerce that have reached out that I've recommended their products and oh, hell yeah, I want to work with you, so it's not a hard and fast rule. It's just, and they know me from the doctors that I'm affiliated with. So yeah, 100% what you were saying is right. So
awesome. Now, what is the best piece of copywriting advice that really stuck with you when you were learning?
The thing I think that helped me get better faster is having multiple editing passes with a different focus on each. Because when you're first starting to write copy, it's a lot. You're trying to remember so many different things that you've learned and integrate it all into your writing. And I think that, it can be overwhelming. It can be scary to start and intimidating, but really kind of giving your self permission to just kind of put it on paper and then going through and being okay, where can I show and not tell? Where can I add a story? Where can I add emotion? And just I would have a little list, of things that I was working on and improving my copy, and have one editing pass where I read the piece and thought about just one thing at a time. And then eventually it becomes second nature and you don't have to do that. But for me, it was a good way of making sure I was just it was a good way to make sure I was getting better, quite frankly. And kind of reminding myself to integrate all the things I learned into my copy. So
yeah, that's really good. And a lot of people say you are not your thoughts. Well, I like to say you are not necessarily your copy. Don't judge yourself on the first pass. Write anything that comes to your head. You're the only one who's going to see it, and you can always edit it if you think your client is going to not like a certain line.
Yeah. And I also like to remind people, everyone started at the beginning. That's a thing that kind of cracks me up about the digital marketing, even copywriting space is all the older, seasoned copywriters get all salty about newbies and stuff. And I'm just you started at the beginning too. We all started at the beginning. And so I also just try to remind people that you're not going to get better till you have some shitty drafts behind you. That is part of the process. That is part of growing that muscle and getting stronger and better. And it's just like, the faster you do it, the faster you're going to get to a place where you're like, that was pretty good. So
That's cool. On the flip side, what are like a couple common mistakes that you see a lot of copywriters make, and you're just like, that drives me nuts right here, right now on this podcast. I'm going to point out those mistakes so nobody ever makes them again.
I mean, one of them is like doing too many things at once, right? Like they just like, they get in, they like go after sales funnels. Next thing I know, they're like designing the landing page, sales page. And I'm like, what do you, then they're building a website. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, and so I'm always like, oh, I can't tell you that. I feel like I've said this so many times. I'm like, stop. Is just like, copy is enough. Like that is such an important skill set that all businesses need, and that you can continue getting better at like for like decades, the rest of your life, like truly. And so I'm always telling them to stop, like just like wearing too many hats, chasing like 50 different skills. Because at the end of the day, it like waters down your ability to like focus time and energy on like something that is like incredibly powerful. So that might be it. Yeah.
I feel like when you get into copywriting, then that's when the focus becomes really important, because before that, if somebody's just starting a business, I'm like, hey, try just a little bit of everything, do a little bit of research. And if you like copywriting, if you like email marketing, then come talk to me and let's zone in.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people out there
Totally.
wearing way too many hats.
Yeah.
I don't wear any hats. I'm not wearing a hat right now. So
Yeah. And that's the same, like for me, like if somebody's like not sold on copywriting, I'm like, then I'm not the program for you, because we are all in, and it is going to consume you in the best possible way. But yeah.
yeah, and that reminds me too that it's like when we are coaching people on how to write copy or be better email marketers or whatever, we're saying like, hey, if you don't want to be part of this, like you don't have to be, like it's totally fine, it's all good, because we're trying to make sure they're a good fit. But a lot of freelancers, when they're starting out, a lot of times they're very afraid to like push back when the client requests for too many things.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for copywriters who, they're getting on Zoom calls with potential clients and they're just a little too afraid to like say what they want to say? Any advice to like kind of help them push through and say, no, this is what I do, these are my rates, take it or leave it?
Yes. I'm like, love this question so much. Well, one, we talk a lot about, especially because like, at least the people I work with are usually like leaving the job market, right? So they're making that shift, as I call it, from like employee to business owner. And that's a lot. And it's a lot of like shifting how you think and how you engage with people. So I'm always amping them up. I'm like, you bring so much value to those conversations. You are coming to the table as equals. Like you are business owner to business owner. You're not employee to boss. So you gotta like start working on that. The other thing, and so there's so much like work that can be done there, just in like how you prioritize your time, expectations you set with clients, like not responding to their emails immediately, like just don't. The other one I like to joke with them is I'm like, there's no emergencies in marketing unless somebody fucked up. Like, so if a client is like, I need 5 sales pages tomorrow, it's like, do you want them to be good? Or do you want them to be like, to convert? Like, because I'm not going to write 5 sales pages for you by tomorrow. Like, and so I think that's another mindset shift. And then obviously like moving from scarcity to abundance is another thing we talk about, which is like, it's so hard to say no to the projects that are wrong for you when you're like worried about where that next paycheck is like coming from, or like your income. And so I get it. And I'm like, you know what? You'll probably say yes to something that was like not a good fit because you were freaking out a little bit, but it will be you will learn the lesson from that. And that is never wasted when you're an entrepreneur. Those lessons inform your next call. The next time you like hop on a client call and you're like, this isn't a good fit, you're going to remember that. And you're going to be so much more likely to be like, no, this isn't a good fit. And that's just something I think that takes practice. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good things in there that took me a long time to learn. And what I like about talking to other successful copywriters is that everybody who's listening can hear it from multiple people, because no matter, like, if somebody really famous like gives you advice, a lot of times you're like, oh, that won't happen to me. And you go out and it happens to you. And humans just have this way of like, oh, I have to try it on my own to see if I'm different. But a lot of these things just, I can back up with my own experience and say, those are all very true. And I would highly recommend, if you're listening, doing what Sara just said. And I'm trying to get a lot of high level people on here saying the same thing, so everybody in the audience can hear it from so many different people, so they don't have to go and make those same mistakes on their own.
Something that I often tell my students is, I'm like, some things you will know in your mind, but that's not enough. Sometimes you need to like experience it and live through it, and it to be a little painful, because then you like feel it and know it in your bones. And it just like, it's just a different type of knowing. It's like knowing it, like, you know, the philosophy or like why, but it's not until you like live through it sometimes. So sometimes you're just going to have to live through a really uncomfortable situation and learn your lesson. And I don't think that that's like, I don't know, we all have stories like that. No one has like gotten through entrepreneurship without having that example in their story, I think so.
Exactly. Now, if there was one Sara Turner quote that I would maybe, put in the title or description of this video, what would it be?
I'm trying to actually think of what my students would say. I'm sure they'd have some like cheeky responses right here. I've said a few, like, I don't know. I'm on the spot.
But we'll find
I'm gonna like poll my students after this. They're gonna have like a long list. I don't know. I often say like, you're doing great. There's no emergencies in marketing. I don't know.
That's a
I wish I had one for you. I have a lot. It's just like, I don't know.
Now's the point as copywriters where we say, well, if you want to get the rest of them, you're going to have to join the community.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So anyway, if somebody is thinking about learning more about you or joining your community, where on the World Wide Web should they go?
Yeah. So officialsaraturner.com. And I always recommend people start with my masterclass. Kind of walks you through starting a freelance copywriting business. It also like walks you through kind of my philosophy around it, which is definitely a little different than some of the other stuff you'll see out there. And seeing if you like it, then next steps are included. So
cool. So there you have it, officialsaraturner.com. If you want to learn all things copy, and if you want to learn all things email list management, my site is emaillistmanagement.com. So that's pretty much everything that we've got for today. So Sara, thank you very much for coming on and enlightening all of us about copywriting.
I don't know if I did that, but I had fun. So awesome. Thanks for having me. And it's great being here. And I'll see you at the next event, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you.